hierarchy. Her book gives examples where she felt like she was seen as the easy wife, the one who...
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Now, you probably feel like you know Christine Brown pretty well, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've all watched her life play out on TV for, over a decade now?
Yeah, for a long time.
But what we're getting into today, her memoir, Becoming Free, a sister wife's memoir, well, it shows this whole other side. A really profound, complex internal journey that, honestly, the cameras just never caught.
That's exactly right. And our mission here really is to move beyond the surface drama of reality TV. This book, this source material, it gives us this incredible look at the emotional side, the relational costs, the spiritual calculation, if you will, involved in basically taking apart a life built entirely on faith, devotion, and a very specific kind of duty.
Yeah, very rigid structure.
Definitely. So this memoir, it's like this powerful personal story that really stands against the family's sort of carefully managed public image.
Okay, so to really understand why leaving was such a huge deal, we kind of have to start at the beginning, set the stage, right? Christine wasn't just like experimenting with a lifestyle. She grew up in this world, in Utah, in a fundamentalist Mormon culture.
Deep roots.
Her identity, her future, what was expected of her, it was all completely tied up with this idea of plural marriage.
Yeah, it wasn't just a choice like picking a career. It was seen as, well, a divine expectation. And that's crucial for this deep dive. We're talking about a covenant life where her value, her spiritual worth, was directly linked to accepting and living within this plural marriage system.
Okay, so let's look at that covenant, how it worked out. In 1994, she marries Kody Brown, becomes his third wife.
Yeah.
And when she went into it, the book described this really genuine, almost fervent hope she had.
Oh, absolutely. She had this ideal picture in her head. She imagined this big, loving family, where all the responsibilities, the housework, the emotional support, all of it would be genuinely shared.
A team effort.
Exactly. And the idea was that this shared spiritual purpose would give everyone strength and protection and ultimately fulfillment.
But her story shows that the reality, especially once the TV show started and everything was under this microscope, it started to look very different from that promise.
Yeah, it really diverged.
And it wasn't like one big blow-up fight that ended things.
Yeah.
The memoir really details this slow, corrosive buildup of tension, like rust.
And what's so interesting, I think, is how the very system designed to create unity, to enforce togetherness, it actually seemed to create this constant underlying friction, just this gnawing feeling. She talks about the inequality, the sort of quiet competition between the wives, the resentments that just simmered under the surface for decades. And she realized that this structure, meant for collective strength, often left her feeling completely alone, emotionally isolated.
And the TV cameras were there for a lot of this, right?
Yeah.
But the book really stresses what wasn't shown, what was deliberately kept hidden. Christine writes about doubts, struggles, things she just pushed down year after year.
Which brings up a really key question.
Yeah.
Why? Why stay silent for so long? Why conform? Well, she explains in the book she felt she had to keep the peace, for the sake of the whole unit.
Don't rock the boat.
Exactly. And maybe more importantly, she was afraid of the disruption, afraid of the spiritual and social consequences of questioning the very structure that defined her whole life, her whole world. The memoir really lays bare the true cost of keeping quiet like that.
Okay, and this is where our deep dive really goes behind that TV curtain. It reveals these hidden costs, things completely separate from what we saw on screen. And honestly, this part has some of the most surprising and frankly painful details. It shows the depth of the individual crisis happening beneath that sort of communal front.
Yeah, the toll, the physical and emotional wear and tear of living that life, it led to some really intense personal crises for her. It's hard to ignore, for example, the revelation about her private struggle with oxycodone addiction. Yeah, it started after knee surgery. And this wasn't, some family drama play out for ratings. This was something intensely personal she was going through, seemingly alone.
That detail, that specific struggle, it really says so much about how that supposed support system maybe wasn't working.
Right.
I mean, if you're living in a house with multiple partners, all these kids, and you feel alone enough to go through a serious addiction crisis without anyone really noticing or stepping in, it suggests the isolation wasn't just emotional, it was practical too. The shared care just wasn't there for her in that moment.
Absolutely. And the emotional weight, it just kept piling up. It was cumulative. She describes this constant draining feeling of being undervalued. perpetually. Like, she was always being compared to the other wives, always feeling like she wasn't quite good enough in her role, doubting her own worth within that family hierarchy. Her book gives examples where she felt like she was seen as the easy wife, the one whose needs or opinions could be sort of pushed aside to make things work for the others.
That specific feeling, being the easy one, that's such a sharp telling detail from the memoir, isn't it?
It really is.
It shows how the love and attention wasn't just divided. It often felt unequal. Like she was always kind of scrambling for her peace, for validation.
And this internal struggle, this emotional erosion, it was happening alongside major external pressures. Things the book details as the final straws, really, the breaking points.
Right, like what?
Well, the family moved multiple times, which is hugely stressful. They faced serious, ongoing financial problems that affected everyone. And there were big cracks forming in the relationships, too, between the adult kids, between the different wives, and Kody.
So it wasn't one single argument or one policy disagreement. It was more like the whole foundation, the covenant itself, just failed to deliver on its promises.
Exactly. The stability, the equality, the collective support, it just wasn't there for her in the end.
She hit a point where she just realized, I can't do this anymore. This life wasn't true to who she'd become. The duty she felt, it had basically just smothered her own truth.
And that decision to leave, that changes everything in the story. It flips the script. It goes from being a story about, submission, about managing duty, to being a story about demanding her own authentic self, defining herself.
Okay, that brings us to the actual separation in 2021. The memoir really frames this departure not as just like a failure or a breakdown.
No, not at all.
But as a journey.
A
journey towards finding and owning her own voice. It was a very conscious step away from those inherited roles and expectations towards real self-determination.
And leaving physically, moving away, that was really just step one. Her account then dives into the next phase, which is crucial: healing and reflection. She basically had to completely reset her spiritual compass. Think about what faith even meant to her anymore after defining it for decades through this one specific institutional lens.
A lens that ultimately didn't work for her.
A lens that failed her, yeah.
And she had to rebuild her sense of who she was, separate from being wife number 3 or just a sister wife. The book talks about her figuring out what marriage, partnership, freedom, what those words meant just for her, on her own terms, not dictated by the system she came from.
Right, completely independent of those external rules. And this wasn't just internal work, it had real-world outcomes. The timeline in the memoir confirms it. She remarried in 2023 to David Woolley. And that new relationship, it feels like powerful evidence of her actually doing it, redefining commitment, love, companionship in a way that's about mutual respect, about a singular bond, not about division and hierarchy.
You know, what really strikes me here, stepping back from the specifics of polygamy for a second, is how universal her struggle feels. Her journey really speaks to anyone, I think, who's ever felt caught in that awful bind, that tension between what's expected of you, the duty you were handed, and the personal truth you discover about yourself, which might be totally different.
It really is the ultimate struggle, isn't it? The fight to define your own worth, your own value, separate from the institution or the family or the system that first told you who you were. So the memoir, it's not just a reality TV expose, it's really a testament to how complex faith is, how deeply held beliefs can and sometimes must change and evolve as you grow and seek something authentic for yourself beyond just doing your duty.
So thinking about this deep dive we've done into Christine's life, what does it mean for us, for you listening right now? What's the takeaway?
Well, it makes you think, right? If your identity, your sense of self is deeply tied to a system, maybe faith, maybe family, maybe even your career, a system that promises strength but actually delivers crisis, how do you find peace again? How do you redefine spiritual well-being without throwing away spirituality altogether? Think about the gap between the duty you inherit, the life you were maybe told you should want, and the often difficult, messy truth you eventually uncover about what you actually need to thrive. So maybe ask yourself, what structures in your life right now might be demanding your silence, even subtly? And what would it really cost? Or perhaps, what would you gain by finally finding your own voice? That's definitely something to mull over.
Indeed it is. Thank you for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you next time.
Grab Sister Wife by Christine Brown Woolley now. On sale, $21.95. Don't miss this chance and build good habits and achieve remarkable results. Buy now today.
Like and subscribe for more Bookhaven podcasts.